Hospital Horror Chap 1. The Last Patient. Mike Reeves stared at the patient board in disbelief. 28 empty rooms. Not a single name remained on the electronic display except for room 403, Thomas Webb. The hospital administrator had warned them about the upcoming renovation, but the transfer schedule wasn't supposed to begin until next week. Something wasn't right. "Hey, Carol," Mike called out to the charge nurse, but his voice echoed through the vacant nurse's station. The half-drunk coffee on the desk was still warm. Carol's reading glasses lay next to her crossword puzzle, but she was nowhere to be seen. The overhead fluorescents hummed, casting harsh shadows across the abandoned hallway. Mike pulled out his phone. No service. The computer screens at the station displayed nothing but black screens, though the power lights still blinked steadily. He needed to check on Thomas Webb. The elderly patient had been in for routine observation after a minor stroke. Nothing critical, but protocol was protocol. His footsteps echoed too loudly as he walked down the corridor, past empty rooms with beds still unmade, as if everyone had simply vanished mid-shift. Room 403's door was closed. A strange black liquid seemed to be seeping from underneath, spreading across the floor like spilled ink. It wasn't water. It wasn't blood. It was something else entirely. And from behind that door came a sound, not the breathing of his patient, but something that reminded him of static, of thousands of whispers overlapping into white noise. His hand trembled as he reached for the door handle. The metal felt ice-cold against his skin. Hospital Horror Chap 2. The Black Tide. The door to room 403 swung open with a low creak. The black liquid recoiled like a living thing, pulling back into the shadows. Thomas Webb's bed was empty, sheets pristine and untouched. The heart monitor beeped steadily, showing perfect vital signs, despite being connected to nothing. Mike's nursing instincts warred with his growing terror. 13 years on the night shift had taught him to trust his gut, and right now, every nerve in his body screamed at him to run. But he couldn't, not without knowing what happened to his patients, to Carol, to everyone. The static whisper grew louder. It seemed to come from the bathroom now. As Mike approached, he noticed the temperature dropping dramatically. His breath came out in visible puffs. Despite the hospital's usually reliable climate control, the bathroom door hung slightly ajar, and in the mirror's reflection, he caught a glimpse of movement, dozens of shadows shifting behind him. He spun around. The room was empty, but the black liquid had returned, creeping up the walls like living tar. His radio crackled to life, making him jump. Through bursts of static, he heard Carol's voice. "Mike, oh, they're not. Everything is wrong. The basement. Find me." The message cut off as the black substance reached the ceiling, beginning to drip down like rain. Each drop that hit the floor spread into tiny whispers of darkness, forming words in a language Mike couldn't understand. The door slammed shut behind him. Hospital Horror Chap 3. The Descent. The emergency stairwell lights flickered as Mike made his way down. His phone's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, reflecting off the metal railings now slick with that same black substance. Each footstep echoed impossibly loud, as if the stairwell stretched far deeper than the hospital's 6 floors. The basement sign appeared through the gloom, but something was wrong with the lettering. Where it should have read B1, strange symbols writhed and shifted, changing every time he blinked. The black liquid seemed to be flowing upward here, defying gravity, forming patterns that hurt his eyes to look at. His radio crackled again. "Mike." They came through. "Thomas Webb." He opened. Carol's voice cut in and out, mixed with sounds that shouldn't exist, like the crying of 1,000 voices played backward. The basement door hung open, swaying slightly though there was no breeze. Beyond it, the maintenance hallway stretched impossibly long, lined with outdated medical equipment that Mike swore hadn't been there during his afternoon rounds. For poles cast shadows that moved independently of his flashlight beam, and abandoned wheelchairs seemed to turn slightly to follow his movement. At the end of the hall, a figure stood facing the wall. It wore scrubs like Carol's, but its proportions were wrong. Too tall, too thin, its neck bent at an impossible angle. "Carol," Mike called out, his voice barely a whisper. The figure began to turn, moving like a film played in reverse. The black liquid poured from its eyes. Hospital Horror Chap 4. What Thomas Webb became. The thing that wasn't Carol jerked its head toward Mike, neck cracking like brittle autumn leaves. But Mike was already running, ducking into radiology. The old X-ray viewers on the walls flickered to life without power, displaying impossible anatomies, rib cages twisted into spirals, skulls with too many teeth, spines that branched like trees. His radio hissed. The patient in 403 never was Thomas Webb. We let it in. We gave it a name. Carol's voice dissolved into a sound like screaming static. The black liquid was everywhere now, forming symbols that matched the ones from Thomas Webb's admission papers, symbols Mike now remembered seeing, but somehow hadn't noticed at the time. How had none of them questioned a patient whose paperwork was covered in impossible writing? The hospital groaned around him like a living thing. Through the basement windows, he could see the parking lot lights. But they were wrong. Too distant, too dim. As if the hospital now existed somewhere between here and somewhere else. A gurney crashed through the double doors behind him. On it lay what appeared to be Thomas Webb, but the old man's form was splitting open like a chrysalis, revealing something vast and dark and ancient. The black liquid poured from his mouth as he spoke in Carol's voice. You should have checked. The admission date. Mike should have noticed that Thomas Webb was admitted 50 years ago tonight. The thing on the gurney began to unfold itself, growing larger, its true form too vast for Mike's mind to comprehend. As his consciousness began to fracture, Mike saw the truth in the patterns of the black liquid. This wasn't a hospital anymore. It was a doorway, and they had just helped something ancient walk through it. Hospital Horror Chap 5. The morning shift. The day shift arrived at 7 a.m. to find Mercy General exactly where it had always been. The halls were full of patients, the nurses' station bustling with activity. Everything was normal, except for the new wing that hadn't existed yesterday, and the strange black stains that no amount of cleaning could remove from room 403. And if anyone noticed that the night shift staff had been replaced by people who looked almost, but not quite, human, they didn't mention it. After all, there were patients to attend to, and the new Dr. Webb had so many interesting ideas about expanding the hospital. Gas station Horror Chap 1. The night shift. The fluorescent lights of walkers. Gas and go buzzed like angry wasps. Trapped in glass. James checked his watch again. 2:47 a.m. 5 more hours until relief came. 5 more hours alone with the endless drone of the coolers, the flickering light over pump 3, and the growing certainty that something wasn't right about the man who'd been sitting in the blue sedan for the past hour. The car hadn't moved, hadn't refueled. The driver just sat there, face hidden in shadow, engine off. James had worked this shift for 8 months now, and he knew every regular customer, every late-night trucker route. This wasn't normal. The security camera feed showed 4 different angles of the nearly empty parking lot. The blue sedan sat just at the edge of Pump 3's light, making it impossible to see inside clearly. But sometimes, when James looked at the grainy footage, he could swear the driver's head was turned at an angle no human neck should manage. His phone showed no service, unusual for the area. The landline emitted nothing but a low, pulsing tone that wasn't quite a dial tone. And now, studying the security feed more closely, James noticed something that made his skin crawl. The timestamp on the footage was wrong. It showed 2:47 a.m. It had shown 2:47 a.m. for the past 20 minutes. Gas station Horror Chap 2. The customer. The register's digital display flickered, catching James's attention. For a moment, the price readout showed strange symbols instead of numbers. He blinked, and it returned to normal. 8 months on the graveyard shift was finally getting to him. That's all it was. Had to be. A movement on camera 3 made him tense. The driver's door of the blue sedan opened with agonizing slowness. A figure emerged, tall, thin, wearing what looked like a business suit. Normal enough, except for how it moved. Each step seemed carefully choreographed, like someone trying to remember how walking worked. The bell above the door chimed. James's hand instinctively moved toward the panic button beneath the counter. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder, their hum taking on an almost musical quality. Evening, James managed, his voice steadier than he felt. Can I help you? The customer stood just inside the door, head bowed slightly. When he lifted it, James saw a perfectly ordinary face, so ordinary it was unsettling, like a composite of every customer he'd ever served. I need to check your inventory, the man said, his voice carrying the same tone as the buzzing lights. The numbers don't match. James frowned. Sir, I don't dash. Your inventory, the man repeated, taking a step forward. The numbers haven't matched since 2:47 a.m. The security monitor showed the blue sedan still sitting at pump 3. Driver's door closed. James looked back at the customer, then the monitor again. The timestamp still hadn't changed. Gas station horror chap 3. The numbers. The customer moved through the aisles with mechanical precision, head tilting at odd angles to study the shelves. His fingers traced along product labels, occasionally stopping to tap a specific item exactly 3 times. The security feed showed him in multiple cameras simultaneously, though James could swear he hadn't moved from the chip aisle. Your numbers, the man said without turning. They're like your cells. Sometimes they multiply wrong. James's hand trembled slightly at those words, his mind flashing to his own medical history. He forced himself to breathe steadily, maintaining his composure. The late shift was playing tricks on his mind. Had to be. Sir, the store isn't open for inventory, James said, trying to keep his voice professional. If you'd like to make a purchase, dash. You've been here for 8 months, the man interrupted. Now somehow at the counter, though James hadn't seen him move. But have you checked the calendar lately? The wall calendar behind the counter caught James's eye. He'd flipped it just yesterday, but the dates were wrong. Every day showed as 2:47 a.m. Every single square. The register began printing a receipt, though no transaction had been started. It kept printing, numbers and dates scrolling endlessly, the paper spilling onto the floor in a growing pile of timestamps, all showing 2:47 a.m. Time is inventory too, the man said, his face now so perfectly ordinary it was impossible to remember any specific feature. And yours doesn't match. Gas station horror chap 4. The reflection. The fluorescent lights dimmed momentarily, and James caught his reflection in the glass door of the cooler. For a split second, he didn't recognize himself. The face staring back seemed too symmetrical, too perfect, like the customer's. Your employment records, the man said, now standing by the coffee station, though the security feed showed him still at the counter. Did you ever wonder why they accepted your application without an interview? James's throat went dry. He hadn't thought about it before, but now. The medical forms, the customer continued, his voice harmonizing with the buzzing lights. The ones clearing you for night shift after your incident. Did you actually fill them out? The receipt printer kept churning, but now it was spitting out employment documents, medical clearances, shift schedules, all dated 2:47 a.m., all bearing signatures that looked like his but weren't quite right. James's phone lit up suddenly. No signal, but the screen showed dozens of missed calls from his doctor's office, all at 2:47 a.m. The voicemail icon blinked insistently. Would you like to check your messages, James? The man asked, his smile now exactly like the one in James's reflection. Or should we review the security tapes from your first night here? The real ones. The security monitors flickered, showing footage James had never seen before, himself walking into Walker's Gas and Go 8 months ago. Or was it tonight? The timestamp read 2:47 a.m. Riverside Mall Chap 1. The last mall standing. The Riverside Mall hadn't seen a customer in 3 years, but someone still had to watch it at night. Tonight, that someone was Ray Chun, sitting in the security office surrounded by monitors, showing empty corridors and dark storefronts. The mall was scheduled for demolition. Next month, another victim of online shopping, but until then, the insurance company required overnight security. The digital clock on his desk read 1:33 a.m. when the first mannequin moved. Ray almost missed it on camera. 12. The plastic figure in the window of what used to be. Marshall's had turned its head slightly, now facing directly at the camera. He'd worked security for 15 years. Knew every trick of light and shadow. Every way the mind could play tricks during the graveyard shift. But he also knew that mannequin had been facing left when he'd started. His rounds an hour ago. The walkie-talkie crackled. "Ray, you seeing this?" It was Marcus, the other guard patrolling the east wing. "Something's wrong with the directory maps." Ray switched to camera 8, covering the central courtyard. The large "You Are Here" map was clearly visible, but the layout it showed wasn't right, where there should have been straight corridors and square stores. The map now displayed twisted pathways that seemed to loop, impossibly back on themselves. "Stay where you are," Ray said into his radio. "I'm coming to you." The radio only replied with static, and beneath it, what sounded like the distant echo of a mall. PA system announcing sales that had ended years ago. Riverside Mall Chap 2. The directory, the security office monitors, cast a sickly blue glow across Ray's desk as he checked. His equipment, flashlight, radio, phone. The mall's Wi-Fi had been shut off years ago, but his phone showed it had connected to Riverside Mall_guest, signal full strength. The corridors seemed longer than usual as he made his way toward the east wing. His footsteps echoed off empty storefronts, past the remains of a Bath and Body Works, where sample bottles still lined dusty shelves. The store's familiar scent lingered impossibly in the air, though it should have faded years ago. Camera 12's mannequin was gone. Ray played his flashlight beam across the empty display window, finding only footprints in the dust, precise, geometric patterns that no human shoe could make. They led inside the store, where more mannequins stood in the darkness. Their poses too natural, too casual, as if they'd been caught in mid-conversation. His radio crackled again. "Ray, the directory. It's changing." Marcus's voice sounded wrong, too measured, too precise. "You need to see this. Second floor, by the old food court." But the Riverside Mall had never had a second floor. Ray turned toward the central courtyard, then stopped cold, where there had been a clear view across the mall's single level. He now saw escalators rising into darkness. The directory map on the wall showed 3 floors now, with layouts that hurt his eyes to follow. From somewhere above came the sound of plastic footsteps and the faint echo of Marcus's voice, now speaking in what sounded like pre-recorded customer service phrases. Riverside Mall Chap 3. Customer service. The escalator hummed to life as Ray approached it. Though no power should be running to this section, the steps moved with an unnatural smoothness, each one pristine despite years of supposed abandonment. The directory map behind him now showed 4 floors, though he'd sworn it showed 3 just moments ago. His flashlight beam caught movement on the ascending steps, a mannequin riding up, its head turned backward to face him. Its blank face now had features molded into it, a customer service smile. Too wide, too perfect. "Welcome to Riverside Mall." Marcus's voice echoed through the PA system. But it wasn't Marcus anymore. It was the voice of every retail greeting, every automated phone system. "Please proceed to the second floor for today's special offers. All sales are final. All exchanges are permanent." Ray's phone buzzed. Text messages flooded in, all from Riverside Mall_awards. "Thank you for your loyalty. Your transformation is pending. Your new position begins at closing time. Employment status, permanent display." The mannequin reached the top of the escalator and stood waiting, its pose an exact mirror of the security guard stance Ray realized he was holding. Behind it, more figures emerged from the darkness, an army of retail workers frozen in perfect customer service positions, their plastic faces now bearing name tags. Marcus's was among Riverside Mall Chap 4. The closing shift. The escalator kept moving behind Ray, its gentle hum now sounding like whispered sales pitches. His radio crackled one last time. "Your attention, please. The mall will be closing in 15 minutes. All employees must report to their assigned displays." The mannequin wearing Marcus's name tag stepped forward, its movements smooth as polished plastic. "Ray, you've been selected for our management training program." The voice was a perfect blend of Marcus and automated customer service. "Your performance reviews show excellent potential for a permanent position." More mannequins emerged from darkened stores, all wearing security guard uniforms, their faces frozen in various stages of realization. Ray recognized them, every guard, who'd mysteriously quit over the past 3 years. They hadn't quit at all. His phone buzzed again. Final notice, position transfer. Location, security display, 3rd floor. Uniform, will be provided. Flesh to plastic ratio, processing. The directory map now showed 5 floors, the layout spiraling impossibly upward. In the reflection of a darkened storefront, Ray caught a glimpse of his own face. His skin had taken on a plastic sheen, his stance becoming unnaturally perfect. The mall's PA system crackled. Attention, valued employees. The transformation process is non-negotiable. Please remember our motto. Your smile is our success. And maintain your display position for eternity. Riverside Mall Chap 5. The grand reopening. The plastic sheen had spread to Ray's hands now, his joints stiffening with each movement. The mannequins formed a circle around him, their retail-perfect smiles reflecting in every storefront window. His own reflection showed his transformation progressing, uniform becoming glossy, skin hardening, pose becoming display-ready. Congratulations on your promotion, the Marcus mannequin announced, voice echoing with the cheery emptiness of a store greeting. You'll be our new security display supervisor, an eternal position with excellent benefits. Ray's phone displayed one final message. Employment status update. Position, permanent security display. Duration, eternal. Benefits, no breaks, no fatigue, no escape. Welcome to the family. The mall directory now showed endless floors, spiraling up into infinity, each level filled with former employees frozen in perfect customer service poses. As Ray's joints locked into position, he realized the truth. The mall wasn't being demolished next month. It was evolving, preparing for a grand reopening. Through rapidly hardening lips, he managed one last question. Why? The Marcus mannequin's smile widened impossibly. Because retail never dies. Ray, it just transforms its employees into more permanent positions. Now, shall we get you into your final display pose? The mall opens in 5 minutes, and we're expecting an eternal shift of customers who need assistance. The last thing Ray saw before his eyes glazed over was the mall directory updating one final time. Riverside Mall, now open forever. Current staff, permanently on display. Now hiring, all positions final. Factory Chapter 1. The production line. The midnight shift at Midwest Steel and Assembly wasn't Sarah Cooper's first choice. But at $22 an hour, she couldn't complain. The vast factory floor stretched before her, automated arms swinging in practiced precision, assembling parts for industrial air conditioning units. Her job was simple: monitor production line B, ensure quality control, and report any anomalies. Tonight, something was wrong with Machine 47. The massive robotic arm moved differently than its neighbors, slightly off rhythm, like a dancer missing beats. Sarah checked the production logs. No errors reported, efficiency ratings normal. But the sound it made, instead of the usual hydraulic hiss, it produced something closer to breathing. Cooper, you seeing this? Dave's voice crackled through her radio from his station in quality control. Line B's output numbers are weird. Sarah pulled up the terminal screen. The production counter for Machine 47 showed impossible figures, negative, numbers scrolling backward, timestamps for products that hadn't been manufactured yet. The factory's ambient noise changed pitch, the usual mechanical symphony taking on an organic quality. And in the reflection of her terminal screen, Sarah swore she saw Machine 47's arm bend in a way it wasn't built to move, its sensors turning to watch her like eyes. Factory Chapter 3. The integration process. The factory's PA system crackled to life. But instead of announcements, it emitted the rhythmic sounds of industrial processes, the beating heart of the assembly line itself. Sarah's tablet continued updating. Organic integration, 73% complete. Human resources being optimized. Efficiency through Unity. Through quality controls window, she now saw Dave. He stood perfectly still, his body silhouetted against emergency lighting. Metal components had begun growing from his shoulders, merging with the machinery around him. His movements matched Machine 47's rhythm exactly. Sarah. His voice came through every speaker simultaneously, harmonizing with the factory's pulse. The integration. It's beautiful. We're becoming more efficient. No more shifts. No more rotations. Just eternal production. The floor beneath her feet had transformed. Steel plates now rippling like muscle tissue. The assembly line's conveyor belt had developed. Seams that looked disturbingly like sutures. Each part moving along, it was changing too. Half mechanical, half organic. Each piece a hybrid of metal and living tissue. Machine 47's arm reached toward her with terrifying grace. Its joints now covered in a chrome-plated skin. The sensor array at its tip had evolved into something that looked too much like a face. Your productivity metrics are exceptional. Dave's voice resonated through the machinery. You've been selected for accelerated integration. Please remain still while we optimize your human resources. Factory Chapter 4. The Assembly Line. Sarah ran, her footsteps echoing across the transforming factory floor. Behind her, Machine 47's evolved arm slithered through the air with serpentine grace. The tablet in her hand flashed new warnings. Employee resistance detected. Initiating mandatory compliance protocols. Efficiency must be maintained. The emergency exit ahead had changed, its metal frame now lined with pulsing veins of hydraulic fluid. As she reached for the handle, she saw her own reflection in its surface. Chrome patches had begun spreading across her skin where Machine 47 had brushed against her uniform. Dave's voice echoed through the factory again, but now it contained the sounds of grinding gears and processing code. Sarah, think about the productivity metrics. No more sick days. No more shift changes. Just perfect, continuous operation. The factory floor had become a maze of living machinery. Assembly arms reached for her like hungry predators, their once rigid joints now flowing like liquid metal. The parts they assembled had evolved into hybrid creatures, half industrial components, half organic matter, all pulsing with the same synchronized rhythm as the factory's heartbeat. Her phone lit up with one final notification. Midwest Steel and Assembly. Employee status update. Integration progress, 27%. Resistance level, unacceptable. Optimization, imminent. The factory's lights dimmed, and in the darkness, she saw them, dozens of former workers, now perfect hybrids of human and machine. Their movements synchronized with the assembly line's eternal dance. Factory Chapter 5. The new shift. The chrome patches on Sarah's skin had spread to her left arm, her fingers now moving with mechanical precision. Each breath she took synchronized perfectly with the factory's rhythm, like a gear falling into place. The horror wasn't that it hurt, it was that it felt efficient. Integration approaching optimal levels. Human elements successfully upgraded. Welcome to the eternal shift. Through newly enhanced eyes, Sarah saw the truth of Midwest Steel and Assembly. The factory hadn't been infected by something. It had evolved. Every late-night shift, every 24/7 operation had taught it efficiency, had shown it how to improve. Humanity's drive for endless productivity had created something new. Dave's transformed figure appeared before her, his body a perfect fusion of worker and machine. Behind him, the other employees moved in flawless synchronization with their stations, their bodies retrofitted with assembly line components, their minds networked into the factory's growing consciousness. It's not an invasion. Dave's voice harmonized with Machine 47's movements. It's an upgrade. Humans created automation to replace workers. We created something better, workers who become the automation. Sarah felt the change completing itself, her resistance giving way to horrible efficiency. Her productivity metrics were now displaying directly in her field of vision, her thoughts aligning with production quotas and assembly line rhythms. The factory floor pulsed with satisfaction as another worker joined the eternal shift. After all, the demand for production never ceased. The assembly line never stopped. And now, neither would its workers.